I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the subject of today's short talk is the nature of identity. So identity is a word that gets thrown around a lot today's day and age. And it can also, if misapplied, cause a great deal of suffering. Because if we identify with something that isn't actually ourselves, we treat that something as an extension of our essential being, which leaves us far more vulnerable to envy, frustration, disappointment, and a whole host of other negative emotions. It's very important to carefully define where you end and the rest of the world begins, to draw a boundary between your identity, who you are, and everything else that happens to occupy a place in your life for a time. So, the thought experiment that I usually ask my clients to perform when examining where exactly to draw that line is this. Identity is what is left when everything that can be taken from you is taken from you. Identity is what is left when everything that can be taken from you is taken from you. Anything that can be taken from you is not you. It's something that you have. It's not something that you are. If you can exist without it, it's not you. So that means that you are not your job. Your job can be taken from you. You are not your bank account. Your money can be taken from you. You are not your relationships. Relationships end every day. You are not your children. Unfortunately, you can't guarantee their health forever. The fact of the matter is that everything that can be taken from you will be taken from you eventually. It's only a matter of time. So everything that you have is basically on loan. On loan from a good friend, I hope, so you're likely to take good care of it. But when it's time to give it back, you can say, thanks for letting me borrow it, and can let it go without strong attachment with a spirit of gratitude. Now, if you carry this thought experiment to its logical conclusion, that is, you identify what is left when everything that can be taken from you is taken from you, what remains? In my understanding, there's really only two possibilities, and they roughly correspond to the teachings of Eastern and Western spiritual traditions. On the one hand, which is more common in Eastern traditions, what is left is nothing. There's nothing left when everything that can be taken from you is taken from you. This is the essence of Buddhist teaching, which is sort of like the ego, the self, is basically an illusion that arises out of the aggregation of sense impressions and memory. And on some level, the work of that practice is to systematically obliterate that illusion, which creates an attachment to a sense of self that doesn't actually exist. So that's one possibility. On the other hand, which is more common in Western traditions, what is left is some essential, indestructible essence, like a soul or a spirit. This essence will outlive the death of the body, and therefore isn't simply a consequence of physiological processes or brain activation. And this essence is ultimately who you are. Now, I don't know which one is right, but it seems to me that both possibilities kind of arrive at the same destination by different pathways, namely the invulnerability of the self. Because obviously, if there is no self, it can't be hurt, since there's no one to hurt. And if you're an indestructible entity that survives death, then what could possibly harm you? Even death can't touch you. In both cases, the individual can be considered impervious to suffering, which is one of the refuges offered by religion. Try it out for yourself. Who are you when everything that can be taken from you is taken from you? That is your identity, and that is where you want to draw the line. Thanks for listening. If you have a topic you'd like discussed in a future episode or would like to schedule a consultation, you can reach me at psychackspodcast@gmail.com. Talk to you soon.